Something strange has been unfolding around the Indiana Fever. Something louder than the cheers, bigger than the rivalries, and impossible to ignore. It started as a spark, a few players hinting that certain Fever fans had crossed a line. But suddenly that spark exploded into a league-wide debate about respect, division, and what really happens when the cameras aren't rolling. And right in the middle of it all, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Erica Wheeler, three players who had no interest in letting the narrative get twisted. At first, it sounded simple. Claims of racist remarks coming from fans, serious, heavy allegations. But what made this whole situation even more confusing was that no video surfaced, no fan recordings emerged, and no concrete proof hit the internet. In an era where everything ends up online, that silence felt unusual. If anything like that truly happened in a packed arena where thousands of phones are always out, why wasn't there a single clip? And that's where the controversy really picked up. Because without evidence, all anyone had was confusion, speculation, and a growing tension between teams, fan bases, and even longtime WNBA supporters who suddenly felt like they were being accused of something they didn't do. But what Caitlin Clark said next was the moment everything flipped. "I don't think anyone in our league should be dealing with any kind of racism." A powerful statement, clean, firm, unapologetic. And yet, there was more hidden beneath the surface, because Clark wasn't using her voice to point fingers. She was using it to calm a storm that was already spinning out of control. But her reaction wasn't even the part that shocked people the most, and that's where this story gets much deeper. Pause. Fans were confused, reporters were scrambling, and players were suddenly getting questions they never expected to answer. The claims suggested that Indiana Fever supporters had crossed a line, using slurs, getting hostile, creating an environment that no athlete should have to tolerate. It was a heavy accusation, and the lack of footage only made the debate louder. But instead of letting the situation spiral, the three players at the center of it, Clark, Mitchell, and Wheeler, stepped forward with something most people didn't expect: calm, clarity, and complete professionalism. Clark was the first to speak, and she didn't sugarcoat anything. She acknowledged how upsetting the allegations were, but she didn't jump into the drama. She didn't attack anyone. She didn't feed the fire. Instead, she pointed to something bigger: the league itself. She talked about the great players, the growth of the sport, and how the WNBA has more positive stories than people realize. It wasn't deflection. It wasn't denial. It was a reminder of what everyone was here for in the first place: basketball. And then Kelsey Mitchell added something even more grounded. She made it clear that the Fever can only control what their people do: their staff, their organization, their culture. Anything outside of that, no athlete can control every single person who buys a ticket. Mitchell didn't downplay the seriousness of the claims, but she also refused to label an entire fan base without proof. Then came Erica Wheeler, who echoed the same energy: professional, steady, and focused on what they could actually influence. All three of them took the conversation out of the chaos and back into reality. And honestly, that's what shocked people most. Instead of fanning the flames, they showed leadership. Instead of choosing sides, they chose truth. Instead of chasing drama, they chose the game. But their measured responses didn't make the tension disappear. In fact, what came next made everything even more intense. Surrounding the team, Clark and Mitchell would have slowed down, maybe missed a beat, hesitated a little, or let the pressure weigh them down. But that's the part nobody saw coming. Instead of slipping, they elevated. Instead of getting distracted, they locked in. And the numbers they put up didn't just silence critics, they stunned the entire league. Before the Olympic break, Clark and Mitchell were already impressive together, averaging 37.7 points per game. That alone would have been enough to turn heads. But after the break, they jumped to 51.3 points per game, becoming the most dominant backcourt duo in the entire WNBA. Not one of, not arguably. No, the most productive backcourt in the league at that moment. Fans started noticing something. Their chemistry wasn't normal. Clark could throw a pass from 3/4 of the court, and Mitchell would catch it in stride, as if the two shared some invisible connection. And then there was the behind-the-back pass Mitchell delivered during the Dallas Wings game, a move so clean, so smooth, that people were rewinding clips just to watch it again. Plays like that weren't accidental. They were instinctive. They showed trust. They showed rhythm. They showed a partnership forming in real time. It wasn't long before fans started whispering the comparison: "This is giving Splash Brothers energy. Curry and Thompson, the gold standard for backcourt duos." And suddenly, Clark and Mitchell were being spoken about in that same breath. But it wasn't just scoring, it was timing, it was poise, it was the moments when pressure was highest. When the game tightened and the final 5 minutes arrived, Mitchell became the person you needed with the ball, shooting 62.5% in clutch time. That's the kind of efficiency that doesn't just help a team win, it defines careers. Meanwhile, Clark wasn't just scoring, she was creating history. Her combination of points and assists had her accounting for over 37 points per game, something almost unheard of for a rookie carrying this much attention. It was becoming clear that they weren't just playing through the controversy, they were conquering it. But there's a side to their partnership that goes way beyond the stat sheet. Something happened. What most people don't see, and what almost never makes the headlines, is what happens when the cameras shut off, the arena clears, and the noise fades. Because behind every highlight, every clutch moment, and every stat line, there's a quiet partnership forming between Clark and Mitchell that has nothing to do with scoring, and everything to do with leadership. Kelsey Mitchell isn't just the experienced guard on the roster. She's the steady hand that every rookie wishes they had beside them. With Caitlin Clark walking into the league under more attention than any first-year player in recent memory, the pressure could have swallowed her whole. Every game packed, every word dissected, every move judged. And with controversy swirling around the team, that weight only got heavier. But Mitchell never let her stand alone. She's talked openly about looking out for Clark, not just on the court, but mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Making sure Clark feels supported, making sure she knows she's safe, making sure she has someone who understands what it feels like to have the entire league watching your every step. That kind of presence doesn't show up in a box score, but it changes everything for a young player learning how to survive the spotlight. And Clark isn't blind to it. Her interviews reveal how much she values the veterans around her, the ones who helped shape the league long before she arrived. She talks about them like heroes. Players she grew up admiring, players she once only watched on TV. Now she's sharing locker rooms, plays, wins, and pressure with them. That sense of respect is rare, and it's genuine. On the flip side, Mitchell has embraced Clark's arrival with surprising grace. It would have been easy, too easy, for a longtime star to feel overshadowed. But instead, Mitchell used Clark's presence to elevate her own game, not resent it. Their connection became a two-way street. Clark brings vision and energy, Mitchell brings wisdom and calm. Together they balance each other out. And Erica Wheeler? She completes the dynamic. Her voice is often the most mature in the room, grounded, thoughtful, always returning to professionalism. She reinforces the foundation. She makes sure the standard doesn't slip, even on the hardest days. When the outside world pushes, she pushes back with perspective. This trio isn't just surviving the chaos, they're rewriting the script for what leadership looks like in modern sports. Because this isn't just about veterans teaching rookies, it's about unity in a league fighting to grow. It's about refusing to let outside noise divide a locker room. It's about choosing character when controversy tries to drag you down. And here's the part that nobody expected. Their chemistry off the court is fueling their dominance on it. But while this bond is strengthening the fever, the rest of the league is watching closely, because what these players are doing is causing ripples far beyond Indiana. And that ripple effect is about to reshape the way fans, critics, and even the league itself look at the future. What started as a handful of allegations has now grown into something bigger, something the entire WNBA is being forced to confront. Because when a story this emotionally charged hits the public, the ripple effect doesn't stay inside one arena. It spreads, it changes conversations, and it exposes the cracks that most people never pay attention to until a controversy drags them into the spotlight. The WNBA has spent years fighting for growth, more fans, more coverage, more legitimacy in the national conversation. Now, ironically, the debate over fan behavior is pushing the league into headlines on a scale it's never seen before. But instead of highlighting talent, records, or history-making performances, the spotlight is shifting towards something much darker, whether the environment around the game is as safe and unified as it should be. And this is where things get complicated. For some longtime fans, the allegations felt like a slap in the face, an accusation that painted all Fever supporters with a broad brush. Indiana is a loyal, basketball-loving state. These fans show up early, cheer loudly, pack arenas, and travel to away games. Many felt blindsided by claims that, without evidence, could rewrite their reputation overnight. Meanwhile, new fans, drawn in by Clark's meteoric rise, found themselves caught between excitement and uncertainty. They came for basketball, not for league-wide debates about culture and conduct. And suddenly, the conversation around the team shifted from look at the star rookie to what's really happening in those stands. This tension isn't harmless. It affects everyone. For the league, it risks overshadowing all the progress made in the past few years. For players, it forces them to speak carefully, aware that every word can turn into a headline. And for fans, it creates a division. Longtime supporters versus new arrivals, critics versus defenders, skeptics versus believers. But here's where the story takes a surprising turn. Instead of letting the controversy tear the fan base apart, Clark, Mitchell, and Wheeler have been actively repairing it. They've steered the attention back toward the positives: great teams, exciting matchups, rising stars, and a league with more talent than ever before. And fans are responding. They're talking more about basketball again, more about the excitement, more about the growth. It's almost as if the players refused to let the narrative sink into negativity, and the fans followed them. Even the timing is significant. The Fever's rise in performance, the push toward future finals runs, and the surge in national interest happening right now means the league's image matters more than ever. A fractured fan base helps no one, but a united one, that could change the trajectory of the next decade for the WNBA. Still, beneath the surface, there's a question everyone keeps circling back to. What does all of this mean for the league's future? Are these issues going to spark real change, or simply fade as another sports controversy that people forget after a few weeks? Because what happens next won't just shape the reputation of the Indiana Fever. It'll shape how fans, players, and even the world sees the WNBA moving forward. And if you think the story is done, wait until you see where all of this is leading. When you pull back from all the noise, all the headlines, and all the back and forth arguments, something becomes clear. This moment, right now, is bigger than a single controversy, a single team, or a single season. What's happening with Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Erica Wheeler is reshaping the WNBA in real time, whether people notice it or not. Because while everyone else is arguing online, these players are busy building something. They're elevating their game. They're lifting their teammates. They're protecting the league when the conversation threatens to turn toxic. And maybe that's why this situation has captured so much attention. It's not just about allegations or drama. It's about watching athletes handle pressure with a level of composure that feels almost unreal. Clark doesn't run from hard questions. Mitchell doesn't let chaos shake the team's foundation. Wheeler doesn't allow outside voices to define who the Fever are. Together, they're doing something rare. They're turning controversy into clarity, noise into motivation, division into unity. And they're doing it at the exact same time they're producing some of the most exciting basketball the league has seen in years. For fans, that means something important. It means the WNBA isn't just growing, it's maturing. The storylines are bigger, the stakes are higher, the players are stepping into roles that go beyond the court. This is the kind of moment people look back on years later and say, that's when everything changed. Because once the drama fades, and it always does, the legacy that remains is built on what these athletes do, how they perform, and how they rise above the moments meant to divide them. And right now, Clark, Mitchell, and Wheeler are writing a playbook for the next generation, not just in how to score, but in how to lead. So the real question isn't whether the allegations were true, or whether fans went too far, or whether the debate online got out of control. The real question is this: what kind of league will rise out of this moment, and who will shape its future? One thing's certain: if the Indiana Fever keep performing the way they are, if this chemistry keeps building, if this leadership keeps shining, then the story we're watching right now is only the beginning.